Reinvention is the key to overcome new challenges and keep growing. Welcome to South Summit 2020. A new networking platform with a revolutionary live TV format to access and connect from any device, anytime, and anywhere. Join South Summit 2020 and multiply your business opportunities.
Hello. Well, it's great to be back here in the South Summit. And for those of you that don't know, this is the 8th South Summit and the 8th time that I'm here in the South Summit. So I am honored to be back here. We're in Madrid, but the reality is that we're not only in Madrid. We're in London, we're in Barcelona, we're in San Francisco, we're in Milan. We're everywhere. We're more global than ever before, and everybody is connected. It is Wednesday, the 7th of October, the second day of the South Summit. Now, I want you to remind you that we have a couple of tracks going on in parallel: mobility and smart infrastructure, as well as energy and sustainability. This track is connectivity and data. Now, for those of you that have gone through this pandemic, or is that everybody that's gone through this pandemic? Yeah, just about everybody. The reality is that what would have we done without connectivity and data? Nothing. Connectivity and data is what has kept us alive over the last few months. So our host for this South Summit, for this track, is Wyra. And Wyra is the open innovation hub of Telefonica. That's where they invest in the best startups that the ecosystem has to offer. So let's begin. We're going to begin with a special guest, Jose Miguel Cansado. Jose Miguel is executive in technology and consulting industries. He is offering strategic advice, applying disruptive technologies to transform businesses and initiatives. Welcome. How are you? How are you,
Thank you.
Jose Miguel?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for the invitation to participate in South Summit.
Okay. Jose Miguel is partner in Alto Analytics, and I've got a couple of questions for you, Jose Miguel. Why don't we start with, how has the meaning and importance of public data evolved for companies over the last 10 years?
Well, the abundance of data, I think, is making the concept of data-driven decisions a reality. There is no longer an excuse not to make decisions based on evidence and data, because there is plenty of data out there. And one example of this is the growth we have had with Alto Analytics, working with large organizations worldwide to turn data available in the digital public sphere, that means in the internet out there, into knowledge and intelligence for better decisions for large companies, for large organizations in general. But it wasn't always like this, because what we did at Alto by analyzing social media and internet sources was first relevant only to the social media departments and to the communications and reputation. Then it went also to be interesting to market research for customers' insights, then to cybersecurity to understand threats and identify threats. And then the main change we've seen recently is that it's more and more relevant to CEOs. Right? The power of public opinion expressed sometimes through social networks and digital platforms has never been greater than now. And it affects business in many ways, because it changes market trends, regulations, or also because sometimes this information is involved and hostile actors are in place driving activism attacks or using other cyber means to attack organizations. So to give you an example also how these things, data has changed in some organizations. 10 years ago, for instance, the communications director of many of the companies we work with was the last guy to be involved in strategic board decisions. Typically, the communications director was the one that was only involved to inform press and media after the decision was made. Now, that's no longer the case. Right? Empowered by data from the digital public sphere, the communications director now brings intelligence to the board and to the CEO to inform strategic decisions. So he is involved before the decision is made, because there is a lot of data out there that can be transformed into value and into intelligence. And we help them do that. And this is just one example of how data, and all kinds of data, including public external data from the internet, has become more and more relevant to large organizations.
And tell me, Jose Miguel, very quickly now, What are some of the challenges or opportunities that data-driven companies have today? Just very quickly.
Yeah, so we have three main challenges. We see three main challenges. The challenge one, to promote a data-driven culture. So data is there, but it's worthless unless you put the means to extract value from it. And this starts with a data-driven culture. And again, the example is data out there in the digital public sphere that represents huge opportunity to provide answers to strategic questions. But the companies need to embed that data analysis into the business process. And the key is to find persons with the curiosity of the urge to ask those questions and understand what those answers means and how they can be used to inform with data their decisions. Which leads us to the second challenge. And the second challenge is the lack of skills and expertise in companies. And there is a need for specific data profiles. I mean, turning data into knowledge requires three types of profiles. Data engineers, which handle all data computing and so on. Data scientists, which model algorithms to extract data, to extract value out of data. And what we call business translator. That's the person who connects the dots of what's possible, of what questions can be asked to data, which ones are relevant, and how they can be answered with data. And this is the hardest profile to find, but also the one that brings the highest value.
All right.
And the third challenge, and probably the most important one, is that big data is also available for criminals today. This makes cybersecurity even more relevant than before. So one example is the amount of information from data breaches that is available to cyber criminals for orchestrating fraud or ransomware attacks. The executives, especially in these times with remote work, are more exposed than ever to digital risk. Their personal data might be part of those data breaches available to attackers without them knowing. So what happens when an executive is exposed? Well, imagine that the executive can be used as a vector of attack for a company. So the type of ransomware that is the most common attack we've seen lately, and the one we see lately is called the big hunt. Instead of targeting consumers to get $100 out of each, now criminals focus on attacking large corporations, asking ransoms of several million in return.
Thank you, Jose Miguel.
That is compromised, that's a big issue for them.
All right, thank you so much. All right, let's keep going. Now we're coming to one of the most important moments of South Summit, which are the startup competitions. So let me tell you how this is going to work. Each startup will have 3 minutes to pitch their amazing ideas to this incredible jury that we have, some of them here physically and some of here online. The way this is going to work is that each startup will have about a minute, less than a minute, 30 seconds actually, to respond to the questions. So the criteria, competition criteria are the following: innovation, scalability, team, viability, and investability. So let me go through just a few of our jury members. From Endesa, we have Juan Martin, Demand and Risk Modeling Analyst, who's here virtually. From MasterCard, we have Alberto Lopez, Director of Cybersecurity and Intelligence Solutions, who's with us here physically. From Bullnet Capital, we have Javier Ulesia, Founding Partner, who's here virtually. From Bankia, we have Diana Diaz Agrela, Director of Analytics and Big Data, who's here physically. Thank you. From IE University, we have Nacho Mateo, Chief of Investor Relations, here physically. From Telefonica, we have Raul Riesco, VP of Strategic Public Affairs and Investments, 11 Paths, who's here with us virtually. And finally, we have from Google, John Lorenzo, Digital Natives Account Manager, who's here with us virtually. So let's begin. Our first group of startups comes from an area called process optimization. So you might ask, what is process optimization? Well, the world today is all about processes when it comes to work. So imagine when you have to make those processes super efficient. Well, that's what these startups are all about. So let's begin. Our first startup. Our first startup is called Alteria Automation. And the pitcher is Mario Alfonso, co-founder. Alteria develops smart sensors for predictive maintenance and ultraviolet air surface disinfection. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me in presenting Alteria.
Each minute of unplanned stoppage time in an automotive plant like our client Mercedes-Benz costs 20,000 euros per minute. Considering it takes from 1 to 2 hours to replace a damaged robot, The average loss is from $1 to $2 million per failure event. Industrial predictive maintenance technology anticipates breakdowns up to 4 weeks in advance. Alteria designs, manufactures, and sells a proprietary range of smart sensors and connectivity devices that are ahead of the market, with our pre-processing embedded edge technology that acquires data in real time, homogenizing the data from different sensors to make predictive maintenance possible. In just 3 years, we have built a solid base of multinational clients that are generating revenues of €500,000 in 2020. In March, COVID impacted and Alteria reacted, seizing a unique opportunity to help society and diversify our business. In April, we identified that the main problem with SARS-2 over time would be closed spaces. And by using our philosophy, keep it simple, we created a new business line, Eon, developing 3 smart ultraviolet products using our smart sensor technology. Eon Air deactivates the virus inside the air conditioning system. Eon Wardrobe deactivates the virus in closed APIs and uniforms. Eon Surface deactivates the virus in all types of surfaces. Our products have real-time traceability and certification on the cloud. Further, they're unique and ahead of the competition. Our products target hospitals, nursing homes, public transport, restaurants, hotels, malls, etc. But also disinfect all kinds of viruses, bacteria, and pathogens. Alteria is an innovative SME with a seal of excellence from the European Commission that has gone through 4 top acceleration programs. We just finished Trend Lab from Wyra and have also won many prizes. We're looking for investment strategic partners for both of our verticals, predictive maintenance and COVID disinfection. Our multidisciplinary team of scientists and engineers thanks you for your attention.
Okay, questions? All right, we have a question from John Lorenzo, Digital Natives Account Manager at Google.
So my question is that your project will be generating large amount of data around all the sensors, and all that data has to be stored. How have you solved the storage and analysis of potentially huge amounts of information?
Thank you very much for your question, John. We solved this problem by building our own virtual private server. We have acquired storage space, and we're going to build a virtual private server and allocate to each client the amount of data they need. Also, there are different types of clients because, for example, a multinational wanted a private server for a pilot we did last year. And so some companies will want to integrate into their own structures, and they will manage the space. And other companies will require from us to provide that service for them. We can do both because the key to the connectivity and the structure of our data, and we have a...
We're out of time.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
So, John, how does Google solve this problem?
Oh, right. That's a very interesting question. So, we all know that the world is storing more and more information every day. So the space required to store all that information is currently produced, that has been currently produced has grown exponentially. The main challenge for any cloud is, in this sense, is not only to store it, but to have the appropriate tools and services to be able to use it and use that information to make decisions. So precisely the growth of this amount of information has led to the birth of new disciplines, such as data science or big data, as we were talking about. Having such large and complex data sets that require other data processing and analytics and analysis approaches to treat them properly. For example, traditional data warehouses were intended to use with fewer variables and significantly fewer data sets or smaller data sets. So this makes them very complex to be used in this new type of reality that we are living. We need data warehouses or data lakes that are adapted to this new situation to be able to make use and make much more accurate decisions based on the massive amount of available data that we have now. Technologies such as BigQuery or data flow as a streaming data processing service, PubSub as data ingestion and messaging service for streaming analytics, data prep to prepare data, machine learning, data prep to run Hadoop and Spark clusters. Just to make it short, a set of services that's integrated with each other, on which we actually support other services like machine learning and artificial intelligence services to be able to respond in the most accurate way to the needs that the business environments, to the needs of the questions that the businesses need to address in such a volatile environment that we are experiencing nowadays.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much.
You're
All
welcome.
right, well, you heard it from Google there. All right, our next startup is Calio. Mikhail Kalip, the CEO, is going to speak. And what does Calio do? Well, they are the next generation sound vision perception with AI-enabled system-on-chip sensors. From the United Kingdom, join me in welcoming Calio.
Many autonomous systems, such as smart robots, drones, and self-driving cars, have been developed and optimized in ideal conditions. Furthermore, some high-end sensors, such as LiDAR and radar, remain very expensive and perform poorly in environments that are challenging both from a physical and electromagnetic perspective. And this affects the efficiency and effectiveness of current autonomous technology. Calio has developed sensor systems that can create live, three-dimensional environmental maps without the loss of data by varying ambient conditions. Our sensors have a wide field of view and offer a solution that complements other sensing technologies which utilize lasers, radio waves, and optical instruments, and adding an additional layer of vision for robots and autonomous systems. The commercial opportunities that arise from this new technology are far-reaching and encompass disparate market sectors, from smart mobile robots and to autonomous vehicles. And it is estimated the global market value for 3D imaging sensors to reach about £58 billion. We have identified the autonomous mobile robots market to provide an initial focus for Calio. Our technology has the potential to revolutionize the sensory-enabled robots. And our aim will be to push strongly into this sector, since barriers are rather lower, the barriers to entry. Away from the smart robot sector, discussions with technologies from the automotive market are highly promising. Our sensors provide several applications within the autonomous vehicle space and play an important role in shaping up the future of the next generation driver assistance and self-driving systems. Our business model is one of B2B engagement with strategic and tactical partners, and this is designed to create multiple revenue streams that arise from targeted development activities that will catalyze subsequent licensing and royalty streams. And in the longer term, we aim to craft our own chip that will find many more other applications. We're currently engaged with several industry partners for paid projects. We have a great team of technologists. Some of us have experience in licensing IP to the industry, as well as founding other high-tech startups. We're currently looking for a seed investment of $350,000, which will enable us to launch an evaluation or development kit, further develop our technology, build a team, and raise brand awareness. And this funding will be used to prepare and shape the company for significant revenue generation after the first year. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, we heard it from Calio. Now for some questions, either from the physical jury or the online jury here.
I have a question.
Okay. Alberto.
Thank you very much. I have a question regarding how do you can detect static objects, but also I suppose that you can detect also objects in movement, no? I mean, it's for both type of objects?
Yes, indeed. So we developed these sensor systems, which encompass arrays of low-cost microphones and ultrasonic speakers. And this allows you to create this live three-dimensional environment and map the system. So you put these sensors on a robot or an autonomous vehicle or autonomous platform, so they're plug and play. And you receive the data from scattering events when ultrasound hits objects, and you receive them on the microphones or the ultrasonic sensors, and you can visualize those objects in 3D space. You create this three-dimensional acoustic landscape of static objects or moving objects. We can interact.
We're out of time. All right, thank you very much. All right, moving along now. Our next startup is called Neuron Soundwear. This startup is going to be presented by Pavel Konechny. He is CEO and co-founder. It is an AI company using sound recognition for predictive maintenance. They protect machines by analyzing sound. Join me in welcoming Neuron Soundwear from the country of the Czech Republic.
Hello, everybody. My name is Pavel Konechny. I'm CEO and co-founder of Neuron Soundwear, and we protect your machines and your business. And we do it by artificial intelligence, IoT, and listening to machines, providing audio diagnostics, especially in predictive maintenance. So before Neuron Soundwear, operators can recognize there is an issue using their human ears and experiences. And what we do is taking the intuitions and building that in artificial intelligence. So our platform provides automated data collections and predictions, helping with preventing some total failures. We have many customers we are working with, so more than 15 working customers with tens of assets being monitored, like pumps, compressors, wind turbines, cranes, and so on. And we are adding a new customer every month. We are tackling three key issues: unplanned maintenance downtime, which is causing quite high loss in productivity; high maintenance cost, so preventing collateral damage when a small issues which could be preventively fixed could cause a bigger damage later; and lower level of digitalizations. So our systems can be integrated directly by sensors to the system. There's no digital interface required. So we provide all-in-one solution. We have designed it N-Box as an edge recording hardware with up to 12 sensors. AI can be also deployed there, so there's no need for large data transmissions. We have also mobile card you can pair with specific applications, and all data is being collected in our extensive database with millions of recordings we use for training over AI. So we provide what we call a level 4 of analysis. So audio, vibrations, and ultrasonic, this is what we are collecting through our sensor. It's one of the first symptoms when you can find the issue. And we also built a mobile-first design, very user tool we call N-Shield for onboarding new assets. It takes 30 seconds. It's very simple to install, and you have a nice view of all the information about your assets up and running. And our solution is provided as a service. So we charge customers initial activation fee, which also includes all the hardware for its lifetime for the period of the service, and then monthly fee, which includes all the emails, asset, monitoring tools, and we periodically upgrade the AI, making smarter and smarter as we collect more data. It's everything very quick. It can be set up within a days. It's being trained, the algorithms, and installation. It's a question of minutes. With that, let me thank you for attention. We are a company based in Europe, based in Prague. We got more than 30 people and working on the next generation revolution of predictive maintenance. Thank you.
Okay, we heard it there. Any questions from the jury now? Okay, Javier Ulecia.
Yes, it's a very easy question. What is the average revenue per customer that you have today, and how do you scale that?
So we have pilot projects which are about 5 to 10 N-Box devices on average, and deal size it's between 6 to 10,000 euros. That's about every single deal. Typically, customers has hundreds of machines, and they install like first project with 5, 10, and we are looking to scale up amongst the existing customer base, adding new customers next year when we can validate the technology, they see it in action in live, and they will allow us to scale up budget, more installations for every existing customers, and we are onboarding new ones in parallel.
All right, thank you. One more question. I know that there are a lot of jury members who want to ask questions here. Unfortunately, we're running tight on time always. So one more question. Alberto Grada.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question regarding how many times do you need to train your software in every different environment? Because at the end, every production chain is totally different. So I think it's important to know how many times do you need to train your software.
why we have developed a multi-stage process, how we calibrate the AI for particular customer, for particular machine. We even customize the AI for every sensor. So we record the initial nominal sounds of operating of the machine. It's 10 days, 2 days, depending how complex behavior it has. And then we build, it's all automated, the model for particular sensor. So it's precisely calibrated for each machine individual. Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, we're out of time. Our last startup under process optimization. This startup is called Tiger. The picture is Elena Jin. She's the marketing manager for the EU and LATAM. Tiger is specialized in natural language processing and AI-engineered information access and extraction solutions that exploit the meaning of structured and unstructured information. It's natural language processing for AI and maximize the human effort in business operations. Sounds exciting. From an exciting country, the country of Singapore. Join me in welcoming Tiger.
Hi, my name is Elena. I am part of an amazing AI company called Tiger. Let me ask first, how long does it take to register a new SME client with a bank traditionally? Let me answer directly. It involves like 12 different sets of documents through 3 departments and a total of 3 days in the best case. And as we know, the best case scenario is rarely fulfilled. And there we open up a common problem of large majority of companies, inefficient operational cost to manage and process information due to a limited capability of automation to process information. But here it comes, that's why we exist. The limited capability of automation to process information could be solved with a technology that could offer more than robotic processes or more than machine learning. That's what they need, is a technology able to understand the meaning of all their information types, no matter the type of the document or its structure. And we can solve this need with a symbolic AI with more than 5 AI disciplines based on natural language processing. And we use it to train computers to understand the information with human logic. And yes, you read right, contractually guaranteed to minimize your risk. So while other softwares of NLP can read this, Tiger can read this type of document, which represents more than 80% of your company's information. And if you can process this information, you can scale and connect one common information ecosystem to all your users. So we're the best solution that fits a self-serve platform for multiple industries with advanced AI components to understand the key data and help your business grow. So going back to the question we asked at the beginning, how long do you think we improve the SME's digital onboarding process? Yeah, the answer is 3 days to 15 minutes. This is one of our best cases, and that's why we are taking this example. In fact, this solution won the Innovation Prize award by EFMA and Accenture last year, as well as these other awards and recognition, being the first Spanish-born company that provides AI technology for the Singapore government. While RPI's market 1.3 billion is expected, ours worth more than $77 billion. And nowadays we're involved in more than 50 global projects in 3 mainly industries, with the easy model that is flexible for technology deployment and annual recurring revenue from subscription and technology use. And that's why all these companies are trusting us. So thank you very much. More information, tiger.com.
You heard it. Yeah, it reminds me, 8 years ago when we started with South Summit, almost all of our startups were from Spain. We have them coming from all over the world now, thousands of them. All right, jury. This thing must have excited you, Tiger. We're going to the physical world for our jury question. Yeah, I can see you smiling already. Diana.
Hi. Okay, thank you. We have been developed for last year some kind of similar project. And for me, the real challenge is extract the exact information. No? For instance, if you need to fill a form for asking for a mortgage, for instance, in a bank, no, the tricky thing is just to extract the exact information, because we can, I don't know, like what you earn in your payroll or what is your exact address, no? What is your accuracy in that? They extract the information exactly.
Okay, hi everyone, thanks for the question. First of all, we guarantee by contract a minimum of 85%, okay, of for non-structured documents. And what we achieve in our use cases and real use cases and success cases, which we have I exposed before, most of the data that we have achieved, we can get like 98.2% of accuracy, and this is based on our 5 patents, okay, based on NLP mixing it with machine learning and knowledge understanding, and yeah, for more details, we also
we're
need
running
to
out
know.
of time. Thank you
Sorry.
very much.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right. Okay, we have time for one more question. Okay, back to the physical world. Nacho Mateo from IE.
Hello, Elena. Thanks for the presentation. My question is easy. In 30 seconds, can you give us more information about the background, the professional background of the co-founders of the company?
Yes, founder, this company born as a spin-off in Austria by Sinué Arroyo. It's our founder. He started in Innsbruck, the university there, doing a research project for his doctor career, and then once he won a lot of prizes, go to Chicago booth, and then to Chicago booth, Singaporean government know us, and that's why we moved there. So yep.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving right along. Our next block of startups comes from data and analytics. But before we get into the startups, we got some interesting things to do. Now, data and analytics are now more important than ever before. The reality is that we double the amount of data in the world every 2 years. And without data, we wouldn't be able to creating the user experiences that today are very much part of innovation. So let's begin. We're going to have a little conversation here, and our conversation is going to be amongst a couple of individuals, Salim Elkou, founder and CEO of ONA, and Ben Bloom, principal at Atomico. So let me talk to you a little bit about these two gentlemen. Ben is a principal at Atomico, and for those of you that don't know, Atomico is one of the biggest, most relevant EU venture capital funds. And then we have Salim Elkou, has over 15 years of experience in the technology space. In 2015, he realized that a technology-based solution was needed to address the growing discovery problem at scale, and he founded ONA. So join me in welcoming Salim Elkou and Ben Bloom. I got a few questions for you guys. The first question I've got is, how did the relationship between ONA and Atomico begin?
We were introduced to Salim by Nauta Capital, the Spanish seed fund who led their seed round, as Salim was starting to think about his Series A fundraise. And what I would say was that during our first interactions, I remember really being struck by the thoughtfulness, the energy of Salim. We were in our offices in London, standing at a whiteboard, and he was drawing out the vision for the platform and what they were building. And we came away with this perspective that the company and the team and Salim were really highly ambitious and had this strong vision. So this year, we were spending time with our enterprise team at Atomico, looking at technologies across the enterprise data and collaboration landscape, and particularly things that supported digital transformation that's been accelerated by the COVID situation. I'll leave Salim to go into a little more detail about the problem ONA's solving and the value that they create for their customers. But the idea of the knowledge integration platform, which is so core to what they're building, it resonated incredibly well with us. And so, the more we stayed in touch with Salim, and the more the vision became clearer and clearer, the more we really got excited and looked for the opportunity to invest.
All right, thank you, Ben. Salim, so tell us about ONA, and where is ONA going in the future?
Sounds good. So the way we work has completely changed over the last decade or so. So we're no longer using one product suite for everything that we need. We're using best of breed applications for every single thing. So think Salesforce for sales, think Slack for team communications, Zoom for video conferencing now. And these applications store enormous amounts of information. And this information is really the organization's institutional knowledge. Everything that, all the contracts, all the messages, all the documents, engineering tickets, everything lives in these platforms, but these platforms are not connected. So when you're trying to find information across all of these places, it is very, very, very difficult. And you have people spending 25% of their time looking for information. So think about some of the world's leading organizations spending a quarter of their time just finding information. And this is not just for productivity reasons, right? It's for security, compliance, legal reasons. Everyone's looking for internal information to be able to get on with their workflows. And this inability to find everything you want whenever you want ends up costing companies hundreds of millions of dollars. So, and if we can take a step back just to understand how we got here, some of the biggest technologies in our time have been about connecting people with information. So think about how the web got started. The web got started because information lived in so many different computers that didn't talk to each other. So, and it was very hard to find information. So then the web was created and it became very, very popular. So popular that it was hard to find information on the web because there are so many websites. Then Google gets created and solves that problem, right? Now in cloud computing, we have applications for everything that are amazing, but then we're back to the same problem that they don't talk to each other. It's hard to find information amongst all of them. And this is the problem we're solving. We're a knowledge integration platform that's used by companies like Facebook, Slack, Dropbox, News Corp, many leading companies in the world. And we help them bring all of their information from the different places into one platform where the information is organized using machine learning and then easily searchable. But then once they find the information, we enable these companies to start their workflows because just finding the information is not enough. So ONA is an open platform where companies can build on top and can connect their applications on this knowledge platform.
Okay, tell me, what is the relationship with Spain that your company has?
So we actually started in San Francisco, right? And then quickly realized how much engineering talent we're going to need. And it looked like an impossible fight to fight in San Francisco for talent. So really we opened up our minds on where we could build this, and we saw Spain as a place where there's amazing talent, and then we can also our people can have an amazing quality of life too. So we kind of took a leap of faith in Spain. We came here 4 or 5 years ago, but we couldn't have been happier. And we found some amazing people here. We were able to attract people internationally here, and we'll continue to invest in our offices in Spain.
Great, thank you. And by the way, we did not pay Salim to say that. I know that we're pushing Spain. Spain is a great place to bring your employees. Thank you, guys. It was a real pleasure, and I hope you guys can keep doing more of what you're doing. Thank you. All right, moving right along. Now we're back to startup competition, and this time it's about data. So we're going to start with our first startup. This one is called Rookout, and the picture is Shahar Fogel, CEO of Rookout. Rookout allows engineers to debug anything effortlessly. So from the country of Israel, join me in welcoming Rookout.
Hi, my name is Shahar, and I'm the CEO of Rookout. As we saw in the last decade, basically engineers are losing control over their software. They're spending more and more time developing the software on their computer, and then once it's distributed to remote environments or distributed environments, they're losing control over it. That means basically that when they want to drive more features, they want to fix bugs, they want to understand what's going on in their software, it's very difficult for them to get that understanding and the data they need from their application. Everyone is talking about making and taking data-informed decision-making in all aspects of the organization and also in engineering roles. Engineers have what we like to call the engineer's dilemma. When they come to understand an issue or to solve a bug, they either fly blind, so they're just taking decisions without any data, or they're flying slow. They want to get the data, they're writing more code, they're writing more log lines, they're pushing it into their CI/CD processes, approval processes, and basically going through an excruciating process, and long and excruciating process within their developer workflows. We at Ruka basically enable developers to eliminate this dilemma and get any data they need from their application without the need to write more code and without the need to redeploy their software. Basically, our platform enables developers and engineering teams simply to click a button, tell decide where they want to get the data from, and then immediately getting the data. No need to write the log lines, no need to pray to God that they're putting the log lines in the right places, and without the need to wait. Some organization takes 15 minutes, some 2 days, some 3 weeks, and some have quarterly deployments. So we're eliminating all that process and enabling engineers to get any data they need seamlessly, quickly, securely, and immediately. Basically, our clients are dev managers and developers, engineers who are developing in our supported stack, and who are feeling these pains in understanding their software, understanding how their application is performing, whether it's in pre-production and staging environments, and also in production environments. Our technology enables them to get any data they need without stopping normal performance of the application. I thank you for your time.
All right, you heard it from Rookout. I wish I would have had Rookout when I was a programmer. I was a programmer in 1981. Yeah, that tells you how old I am. Well, we can pass on that. All right, questions from the jury here, physical and virtual. Here we go, Raul.
I have a question regarding the number of the coding languages that you support, as well as the secure coding practices that you also support. I mean, cross-site scripting or any type of vulnerability inside the code.
Okay, so basically today we support 4 languages and many permutations within the language. We support Java, .NET, Python, and Node.js, which covers around 80% of the backend market. So we focus mainly on the backend market. We're SOC 2 compliant, ISO 27001. We incorporate a lot of security measures within our SDKs, within our platform to enable us to work with large financial institutions. We're working with Santander Bank and other major organizations within the world, the largest CRM, etc. I think, yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have another question from our physical and online juries?
Javier here.
Javier.
Yes, very quickly. Who do you compete with?
So currently, there's not many other companies who we compete with directly. All the APM players and observability tools we're basically complementing them. So they're pointing the finger towards the place you find the issue, and then we come along and help you, get the root cause of the bug quickly. So we don't really have a direct competition in terms of companies. We compete with the normal practices of engineers who just write more and more log lines, deploy, have a lot of junk there. Logging FOMO, basically, it's our biggest competitor.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving right along. Our next startup is called Lexset. The pitcher is Francis Bitonti, the CEO. Lexset is a B2B SAS solution for the well-annotated data problem for training computer vision AI through massive parallel 3D simulation. From the United States, join me in welcoming Lexset.
Hi, I'm Francis Bitonti, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Lexset. Lexset is tackling one of the biggest challenges in artificial intelligence. Collecting, annotating, and manipulating data sets takes thousands of human hours. We need to find a better way, and Lexset has a solution. I'm Francis Lexset uses physically accurate and co-founder of Lexset to generate visual training one of the biggest challenges in artificial intelligence. Computer vision, annotating, and manipulating data sets is an early mover in this space. solving one of the biggest bottlenecks. And currently, the way artificial intelligence engineers get data is not scalable. It involves long, visual training data that are extremely difficult to automate. Computer vision about those rapidly growing iterations are slow, and is an early mover in this space, solving one of the biggest bottlenecks. This is so difficult because the way artificial intelligence engineers get data is not scalable. It involves long, slow processes require creating new training to automate. This makes involving teams of operations and modifications are slow and expensive, and this impacts technology offers us a better way. Our simulation technology enables engineers to generate curated training sets, leveraging and adjusting to the system and computational creating new training data. Create annotations that are not possible with human modifications. Because our system logs every detail of technology offers us a better way. An essential simulation technology enables engineers to generate curated training data, enabling you to quickly and easily generate low probability black swan annotations, and our annotations are also 100% accurate because our system logs every detail of your data set. Proven across a variety of industries and applications, model bias, domain randomization to solve data diversity issues, enabling you to quickly and easily generate low probability black swan events, and our annotations are also 100% accurate because they are physically accurate camera simulations that help the real estate market conduct better surveys. Applications. This is an example domain randomization to solve data diversity issues for robotics companies, produce a number of physically accurate 3D content, including ones that are difficult for some industry, achieve better accuracy and flexibility. And we can deliver these data physically accurate camera simulations to help the real estate market conduct unlike other synthetic data providers, we understand that we're simulating data requires simulated environments that enable a number of different adaptations for every stage, including ones that are difficult offering a holistic solution with human. While the majority of our revenue comes from data on demand, we also offer solutions for model training. Unlike other synthetic data providers, we understand that working with the power of synthetic data requires products and services that enable world-class teams through every stage biggest problem. We are offering a holistic artificial intelligence. While the majority of our revenue comes from data, we also offer solutions for model training and hosting. We have recently been named one of the winners of the power of synthetic data at every step. We're excited to work with you to build better education for the next generation of artificial intelligence. And our team includes artificial intelligence engineers, computer graphics engineers, physicists, and entrepreneurs. We're also grateful for our amazing partners, and we have recently been named one of the winners in the Verizon Built on 5G Challenge. We're excited to work with you to bring better education to the next generation of artificial intelligence. Thank you for your time.
Very interesting. I have a question. Do you have into account
Did you guys see that simulated environment there?
In this kind of
you could almost live in that place.
You generate?
No, it's a big part of what we do, and it's definitely a really big part of the company culture and ethos. Look, a lot of the problems that we read about in AI, it stems from using people's real data, using personal data, a lot of privacy issues stem from this. You read about it, I'm sure, in the news, issues with model bias. Synthetic data, or rather simulation more broadly, it's a solution to a lot of these problems. It eliminates the need to use people's personal data. And it also, like I said in the presentation, because you have so much information about your data set, it can help combat model bias and any other kind of
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, we got time for one more question. Javier.
Yes, what do you do different than the game engines such as the Unity or Unreal?
Yeah, I mean, look, the game engines are a 3D simulation engine. That technology kind of fits in within the workflow within the stacks, but they're not really an end-to-end solution for creating simulated data, creating procedural environments, managing 3D assets, dealing with domain randomization, analyzing the contents of data sets. Those are great tools, but they're only a piece of the pipeline.
All right, thank you. All right, moving right along. Exciting stuff here. Our last startup in this segment is a startup by the name of ObjectBox. Vivian Dollinger is the CEO. ObjectBox empowers sustainable edge computing with an edge database and data synchronization solution. From the country of Germany, join me in welcoming ObjectBox.
Hi, I'm Vivian. I'm the CEO of ObjectBox. Today, 90% of data is being stored in the cloud. This number will drop to just 25%, according to Gartner. And with ObjectBox, we enable this shift to edge computing. An on-device database that's 10 times faster than any alternative. It's uniquely designed to sit on a wide variety of devices, from small sensors to medium-sized devices like smartphones or IoT gateways to the server. And on top, it comes with an out-of-the-box data synchronization solution that takes care of synchronizing data between devices. This means that we enable developers to develop applications that work in real time while also functioning offline as well as online and keeping data local and private data private. All in all, enabling a digitally sustainable life with regards to cloud costs as well as CO2 emissions. Now, in practice, to give you a couple of use cases, for example, in a hotel, typically this means you don't have a Wi-Fi connection, you don't want to carry around your smartphone, no cash, but at the same time, you might want to access an area that is a paid area, you want to order something, and in order to provide your guests with a seamless experience, a small Android wristband with the ObjectBox database, some access points, and of course, the ObjectBox data synchronization, you can provide a seamless experience while also taking care that everything is paid for and without burdening any of your customers on such a location. Another example is in manufacturing. Now, of course, cookies wouldn't have been the first thing you would have thought about. I think me neither. But in fact, cookies is a great example because you tend to have a large row of cookies and they are produced really fast. So it's a lot of data coming in and it needs to be ingested in real time and of course processed in real time in order to do quality assurance. And what you don't want to box broken cookies. So this is a good example where the ObjectBox database with its high performance can help you. Another great example is any offline remote area location. For example, in the oil and gas industry, typically that's a large site. It has very flaky internet connections, often only half an hour a day, and you have a ton of data being generated on that site that also needs to communicate with maybe workers with a smartphone and a tablet that also want to change some of the data or need to look if something has given an alert. Some of this data, however, you would want centrally in the cloud, and ObjectBox also takes care of synchronizing this data to the cloud when a connection is available. This is why already more than 350,000 developers are using ObjectBox. They've developed more than 30,000 apps, and we receive a lot of love from the community. So if you want to take your project to the edge, please talk to me. And of course, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Wow, ObjectBox. I saw a lot of persuasion in that presentation. Not your typical German presentation, right? Okay. So questions from the physical and virtual jury here. Okay, Gonzalo Tradacete.
Hi, thank you very much for the presentation. Very interesting. I wanted to know with a bit more detail on your current commercial situation. What you've recently started selling, I believe. Could you explain a bit more on your status there in the market? What's your plan for this year?
So we basically onboarded the first clients, and we are doing a pilot with a big German company I cannot name, and we are in a signing process with another really big company in Germany. So yeah, we are scaling up with regards to onboarding paying clients. We have a really large user base of the database. And of course, now with our synchronization, we are converting some of our users into paying customers at this moment.
Okay, thank you. All right. So this is the last startup in this segment. Well, let's continue with our program. Yeah, I have a real surprise for you guys. I have two guests physically with me here. Can you believe that? We're back to the real world again, or the old reality, as they used to say. All right, so here we are. We have a roundtable here on data connectivity at the core of disruptive business models. And with me, we have Elena Gil. Elena is Global Director of Product and Business Operations at Telefonica, IoT, and Big Data. And we also have Carlos Bort, co-founder and data scientist at Explorer.ai. So I have a few questions for you guys so that we can make this interesting here today. We're going to start with you, Elena. Elena, you work at a pretty big company, a large telco that connects and generates a massive amount of data from its networks. How do you leverage these assets to develop new business models for your corporate customers?
Well, as we are a large company, a large telco, what we do is to work with our corporate customers and public administrations by combining different technologies, in general IoT, big data, and artificial intelligence. So what we do first is to help them connect the physical world through IoT, through Internet of Things, and we can provide the full stack from the sensors and devices, the different connectivities, 2, 3, 4, now 5G, or even specific IoT connectivities, narrowband IoT, LTE-M, or private LTE. And on top of that, we have the IoT platforms, both horizontal and vertical for specific industry solutions. And with that, what we generate is millions of distributed data points in real time. Besides, we can leverage that we are a telco, and we are providing insights based on the telco networks. We had the customers trying to leverage our position as a telco with the connectivity, with IoT connectivity, and our big data.
Can you imagine 350 million customers? I'm one of your customers.
Thank you, I hope so.
Yes, definitely. All right, Carlos, I don't know what you're going to do to respond to this, but I've seen that you've worked at several companies and industries. From your point of view, what does being disruptive in data connectivity mean today?
So let's talk about being disruptive in a business model. First, you have to be cheaper than your competitors. You have to have a better accessibility to the market, and you have to have a lower cost, a structural cost, from one side. No? From the other side, in data connectivity, so you have lots of data that you have to merge, and you have to connect in-house. No? And you use algorithms to deliver. So when you are using algorithms to deliver business value, you have two ways. First, you can increase your value proposition, and second, you can create new business lines, as you mentioned in Telefonica. No? And when you mix this business disruption and this data connectivity, what happens is that near 85% of data projects fail, as Gartner appointed, right? Yeah. So what's being disruptive today? For me, being disruptive is having the capability, in-house capability to deliver business value with your data. That straight and clear that way, because most of the company are trying to figure out how to do it. No? Most of the time we reason and we compare ourselves with American outliers, but that's not the case. We have to talk about European corporates, European startups.
Okay, excellent. Elena, one more question for you. What are you doing with the startup ecosystem? How do you leverage and engage them?
That's it's a critical part in our strategy. As you can imagine, we need to innovate continuously. It's the only way we can survive in this environment. And we do some innovation internally, of course, but for us it's very important our partners ecosystem. And we can talk here about the hyperscalers or the device suppliers, but it's also very important to work with startups. What we do is to leverage the open innovation programs that we have in Telefonica, Wyra, that I know you are very familiar with it, and our different programs. And what we do is to work with the startups because it's very important. They bring disruptive models, business models, and they also bring agility. That is something in our case as a large company is harder to create internally. So it's a very, very critical part in our innovation.
So our startup world is important to you, right?
Very important. I would say it's critical for the future of the
Okay, last question for you, Carlos. What are some of the challenges in data connectivity? Because most people have very old systems, right?
Yes, so the biggest question here is how your company will tackle the future AI algorithm landscape that will be created, right? This is a very big question. If we, and arise other questions like, first of all, we have to think about which are our defensive modes as company. It's AI, a defensive mode. It's the data we gather. It's how we connect our data. or infrastructure, no? Or go to market? This is a very important question. Second, a big challenge is how our AI will scale. So we train algorithms and they have to understand a lot of a very long tail of events, a lot of different tails of events. How my infrastructure will scale. 350 million customers, how that will scale. And another thing in the scaling system is how my data talent and my human in the loop pipeline will help my algorithms to perform better.
Yeah, we're out of time, Carlos, but thank you so much to both of you. This has been truly amazing, and we look forward to catching up soon.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to move right along here. Our next segment is by that company that we heard just a few minutes ago, Wyra. Wyra is the secret sauce of Telefonica when it comes to startups. And this segment is going to involve Ivan Contreras, who's CEO of Humanox, Oscar Bo, partner and COO at Govertis, and Andres Saborrido, who's the Wyra global manager. This is it, the Wyra segment.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, hello.
Hello, Ivan. Hello, Oscar. Hello, everyone. It's a big pleasure for me to be once again at South Summit, this time to talk with two great founders with very interesting and a little unknown experiences to share. On the one side, we have Ivan Contreras, who is co-founder of Humanox, in which we have invested from Wyra, and he's also founder of several other companies, including the well-known Pultra, no? the scooter sharing company. And on the other side, we have Oscar Bo, who is co-founder of Govertis, also a Wyra invested company, and recently acquired by Telefonica Tech. So we can also talk about the exit process if you want, and if you can, of course, Oscar. But in this track of connectivity and data, I would like to start by discussing with you about how you scale up a data product with a corporate partner. Actually, I hope you'll give us the recipe or at least some tips on how you became a strategic partner of a corporate to expand your own business. So if you want, let's start with you, Ivan. Please introduce Humanox and the way you created a data business together with Telefonica.
Yes, Humanox is a health platform for soccer, for football players, and that's based for not just professionals. We offer the solution for amateurs, youth, kids. This Humanox, the add value of this is you can use our carbon fiber shin guard that's connected in real time. You have a huge amount of sensors inside the carbon fiber shin guard, and then these sensors send the information in real time to the cloud through a M2M with a Telefonica SIM card. That's a huge amount of data for every season, more than 50,000 data per game. And all this data for us is very important to be ready to scale. This is why Telefonica has a very important role in our company.
And tell me, what was the hardest part of working with the corporate? The harder part, and also, of course, the best part of all this process?
Yeah, I can say it ever the same. We are a startup, and it's difficult to work with a huge company with a huge team. You need to wear a lot of helmets because in a startup you need to do a lot of things. But that's they put a huge amount of meetings working with me, with my technical team, and with our marketing and commercial team, and they take care of the day-by-day business with my team. That's the word, the agenda. To accomplish with the agenda, my team and Telefonica team was very difficult. After that, I can say when you have the timing, the time to market was fast. All the technology plan, the roadmap for the future is okay for us, and we have a huge and great access to the suppliers for components to improve the product.
So as Elena Hill mentioned recently, it's also very important for us, or critical for us, to work with companies as yours, of course. And how about you, Oscar? You started working with Telefonica as partners. You were invested by Wyra, and some years later, you sold your company to Telefonica. How was all this process from the beginning to the end?
Well, it has not been easy, for sure. Okay. So in fact, just let me introduce Gobertis itself, because I think that it's it's a quite particular case. In fact, Gobertis, it's an advisory firm. It's an advisory firm fully specializing on cybersecurity, privacy, and that unifies, as a unique value proposition, both the legal and technical aspects of this kind of consulting projects. And through this unique value, we achieved to become the largest 100% specialized firm in Spain and Hispan that was working on what it's called IT governance, risk and compliance, or also integrated risk management. In the very moment of Telefonica acquisition, we have been a team or an ecosystem of nearly 100 people that grew in many years, obviously, but that has been really accelerated by Telefonica. Obviously, with the help of Wyra, which has taken us and has become a great impulse. But also due to all the collaboration and all the integration with all the Telefonica teams that I can also explain to you in greater detail if you want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think you did right to arouse interest in being acquired?
Whoa. Okay, that's an interesting question. Okay, well, perhaps I think that the main things that we have done quite great has been the great relationship with all the Telefonica internal teams. Our business development teams and also our internal consulting teams has created something like a symbiotic process with the counterparts in Telefonica. So our own business development teams were working always together with business development teams in Telefonica, and we were together with the customer analyzing their needs, also analyzing what kind of solutions of consulting projects they were interested into, and creating the value proposition all together.
Andres, I think we're out of time. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Paris.
Thank you. All right, moving right along. You know, I wish we had more time, but all these things are so exciting, but we're on a tight schedule here. Our next area is Telecom and IT Services. Now, our lives depend on our phones. Can you imagine losing your phone? I mean, anything could happen to you today, but if you lost your phone, you would go crazy. You don't know what I'm like when I lose my phone. But our phones depend on telcos, which is our next segment. So let's go to our startup competition now. We're going to start with our first startup. Our first startup is called Aircision. Aircision is represented by Luis Oliveira, who's CEO. Aircision aims at using optical wireless communication systems for connecting cell towers in 5G networks. They're powering the high-speed connected world. From the country of Netherlands, join me in welcoming Aircision.
Hi, Luis Oliveira from Aircision. According to UNESCO, in 2019, 45% of households worldwide still had little or no access to internet. And this year, with the corona pandemic, at least 1 billion students had their school disrupted, losing access to education. To tackle this digital divide and increase coverage, governments and telcos are planning to invest billions of dollars to deploy at least 3 times as many sites as there are today. To connect all these new cell sites to the core network, fiber will remain the gold standard. But it can take a long time to install, and it's often not technically or economically viable, especially in rural or remote areas. That means that more wireless solutions are needed. Aircision provides a new optical wireless solution to connect cell towers, the backhaul of telecom networks, and we deliver fast deployment, super low latency low energy consumption, and a very high throughput potential. Being a spin-off company from CERN, Aircision has reinvented the way lasers are used for data communication. Our system covers 2.5 kilometers and reaches data transmissions of 10 gigabits per second. We offer unprecedented reliability under the most adverse weather conditions. We've talked with large telcos and rural connectivity providers. They have all confirmed the need for more wireless solutions. In 2020, we finalized the first version of our product and tested it at KPN's facilities. And we'll start addressing use cases in rural, remote areas where fiber cannot be deployed. Other use cases relate to railways, electrical networks, and events. And finally, we aim to help telcos in expanding their 4G and 5G networks. The wireless backhaul market is expected to reach 55 billion euros by 2025. A portion of it will be wireless and will be covered by the optical wireless systems. We want to be a key player in this market, capturing at least a 10% market share. Our competitors provide solutions to niche segments, such as building to building for enterprise, but by being the only one optical wireless solution that works even the most adverse weather conditions, Aircision has a competitive advantage for entering the mainstream telecom markets. After winning the virtual South Summit e-challenge for connectivity and data last May, we generated many interesting new leads. And I'm very proud to announce that in 2021, we'll conduct a pilot in Spain with one of the largest operators. Our team is currently composed by 8 people, combining decades of experience in finance, sales, and product development, and we are surrounded by serial entrepreneurs and industry experts. By expanding connectivity in line with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, we believe we can break down the digital divide. We are currently closing our seed round of 2 million euros, so if you want to know more about our technology, feel free to reach out. We are Aircision, and we are powering the high-speed connected world. Thank you.
All right, well, you heard it. Aircision. If they get their way, everybody's going to be connected. Imagine that. All right, so do we have any questions here from the physical or the virtual world? All right, we're going to go to the physical world here. Nacho Mateo from IE.
Thank you very much, Luis, for the presentation. Can you give us more information about the business model, or how do you plan to monetize?
Thanks for your question. First of all, we are right now developing our products, so the devices that you've seen during the pitch, and we are going to sell them to the manufacturers of subsystems, who are the ones that integrate these devices and provide, let's say, a full solution to the operators.
All right, Alberto.
Thank you, Luis. A question regarding licensing and environment impact. For example, with birds, I don't know if there is any impact in the environment and if you need any specific license to deploy your solution.
Thanks for both the questions. So first of all, we are using what we call invisible lasers, so near infrared. So these lasers are completely eye safe. So let's put it this way, they don't hurt birds or eyes. This is actually one of our key differentiating elements because of our unique structural laser beam, our unique laser, we don't need to use that much power, and our system still works under very adverse weather conditions such as rain or fog or other atmospheric effects.
Thank you.
The second,
sorry, very quickly.
Yes, I think there were 2 questions. The second question is about governmental licenses, and that's also a key differentiating element towards our main competitors, which are microwave and radio frequency systems. We don't need any governmental license. We have it's completely license-free product.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along. This next startup, Reloadly, represented by Michelle Francis, CEO. Reloadly is accelerating mobile connectivity for 5 billion mobile users in emerging countries. From the country of Spain, join me in welcoming Reloadly.
Hi, my name is Michelle, and I'm the co-founder of Reloadly. We're helping billions of mobile users to stay connected on their phone. We're like Twilio for prepaid airtime and data. There's over 6 billion mobile users across the world, and 78% of them depend on a prepaid balance, and they're coming mostly from emerging regions. As we're entering a more digital world, developers, and digital platforms have no easy way to connect with telcos in order to credit these billions of prepaid mobile users. It's a huge problem to solve, and telcos are fragmented, centralized, and very old school. Our solution is a toolkit that enables developers and digital platforms to easily access their telco networks within their regions in order to top up or credit over 4.5 billion prepaid mobile users. We provide APIs, SDKs, and widgets to solve the developers' pain points. We're fully a self-care plug-and-play business model, and we're only B2B. We provide easy integration, and anybody can get started within a few hours. We're addressing a huge market. Over 265 billion is the prepaid airtime market, and we're addressing the 10 billion serviceable obtainable market for digital channels. We're the only platform that is solving the problems for developers. Our business model is we go and we sign agreements with these telcos, and they pay Reloadly up to 15% commission. For every transactions that our partners send, we do a revenue split, and we're netting 7% on average. We first need to sign agreements with the telcos, then develop our inbound and outbound sales channels within the regions, and our main objective is to build a developer community and following. We have great traction, over 8x growth this month. August was the highest month with 800,000 in GMV. We're on track to do 10 million in annual recurring GMV run rate with over 180 B2B customers. We have a great team with over 10 years experience in the industry, with deep background within this particular prepaid market, and this is my second startup. We have big plans to reach over $1 billion in the next 8 years, and for the next 3 years, we want to hit 200 million. Thank you again. Reloadly is accelerating mobile access for billions in the developing world. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, jury, you heard it. What would the emerging countries do without prepaid? Actually, prepaid is also big in a lot of developed countries as well. So, questions from our physical or virtual jury? Gonzalo Tracete.
And I wanted to ask you, what are you feeling about this second wave of the pandemic? Is it affecting positively your business? In the sense, is it even easier to contact in these third world countries? I mean, these ones that really need your service now, is it easier to contract them online?
Yes, actually the pandemic is propelling the need for our service, because now more and more, as people are confined home, digital platforms are servicing the needs to recharge these data plans and airtime from these telcos in these emerging regions. So we've seen a significant growth in demand for our product throughout the pandemic.
All right, thank you. Well, you heard it. I mean, how many startups are actually doing better now in the pandemic than before? Not too many. We've got one here. Okay, last question from our jury. No questions. All right, good. Moving along, gives us more time. Okay, our next segment is a conversation with Telefonica. And it's a real honor to welcome Pablo Moto, the head of new business at Telefonica. Pablo Moto has been involved in the top 10 to 15 telecom companies in the world through Telefonica, with 40 billion in revenues. As we heard, they have 350 million customers. He was also head of innovation at Mutua Madrileña, responsible for defining and launching new products and services in the market. So, Pablo, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, let's get started, Pablo. Basically, I want to move the conversation a little bit. We heard earlier about cybersecurity and how important it was. How is Telefonica promoting its cybersecurity strategy collaborating with startups?
Well, several ways. I can speak from the Telefonica Innovation Ventures side. So we in Telefonica Ventures, we are the corporate venture capital of Telefonica. So we follow, at the end of the day, we follow the business units and the business priorities of Telefonica. So it means that if cybersecurity is a business opportunity for Telefonica, it's going to be a priority for us, right? So cybersecurity is one of our top priorities, and among those key priorities, we have also networks, IoT and data, cloud, obviously cybersecurity, and also digital customers and digital transformations. Like, for example, we incorporate here fintech, home, gaming, and some others, right? But cybersecurity is a core business for us. So focusing on cybersecurity, we can say that in our portfolio, in our current portfolio, we have 11 companies invested right now. And within these 11 companies, we have 3 startups of cybersecurity. One is Nozomi, a company of cyber IoT that we recently invested in last June or July. Also, we have Blue Leaf, which is a Spanish company, and also for IQ. So we have 3 out of 11, so it's nearly a 25%. We are really happy to say that all of them are already working with Telefonica as well in several projects, in internal use, reselling their solutions to our customers. So we are really proud of the cybersecurity bet in the Telefonica venture side. But we are really happy, but we want more, right, among cybersecurity. So that's why we are going to focus our strategy in cybersecurity. So, and also we are doing this because of 3 issues. Firstly, because Telefonica wants to do it, and it's the more important thing. Secondly, because this is a growing and a huge market. We are speaking about 8 billion and growing in a 20% year on year.
Globally, 8 billion.
Globally in venture capital, right? Just in venture capital. And also because constantly we are seeing new niches, like for example, cloud cybersecurity, IoT cybersecurity, data protection, new threats, e-commerce cybersecurity, and those niches always started to be covered, to be addressed by startups. So we are happy with the things that we have done before, and we are going to do more.
Where are you with in the area of like facial recognition and things like that? Is there any connection there with cybersecurity when you're dealing about recognizing identities and things?
Well, it's kind of, and I guess all of us are following the leaders on this and trying to find a global solution, but it's kind of cybersecurity. Obviously, identity is one of the largest issues within cybersecurity. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of fake identities out there today. It's a big problem.
Yeah, obviously, if apart from the post-COVID world, every connections, every retail is going to the digital. So digital recognition is going to be a huge problem that we need to address.
You're head of new business at Telefonica. How has COVID affected your business?
COVID, wow. It's the question of 2020, I guess. Well, I guess we are in the right side of the cake, if you want to say this.
There's a cake?
The cake is the coin. I don't know how to say it. Nasdaq is going up, and digital is the place to be as well. And I guess I foresee that we will see a lot of trends going up, like for example, digital work, home office, IoT as well, cloud, cybersecurity, B2C and B2B as well. And I guess we have all this business in our core identity. So I guess we see positive forecasts for us.
That's great. I mean, a lot of companies have been caught by surprise because of this whole COVID thing, especially big companies. But at least it seems like you guys were already working on a lot of this stuff before COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw it before. Cybersecurity, cloud, IoT were 3 priorities that our chairman introduced before last year. And the post-COVID world is pushing this, you know.
For all the startup people watching this now, we heard a lot about Wyra earlier. How closely does Telefonica New Business work with Wyra in terms of identifying startups?
Well, we are really close. I mean, Telefonica Ventures, which I am responsible for new business within Telefonica Ventures, we are the corporate venture capital, and Wyra is they are doing also venture capital. They invest until 250 keys euros, so they are focusing more on seed stages, and we start from there.
Okay, Pablo, thank you so much for being here. It's a real pleasure because this is the real thing. These are the people who are investing in telco startups. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paris.
All right. Okay, moving right along, everybody. We have another conversation coming up right now between Lee Newman and Susie Mcbride. I'm really looking forward to this segment, which is really special to me because these are two very special people. So let's start. Susie Mcbride. Susie Mcbride is the Chief Operating Officer at Iridium Communications, the only satellite communications company that offers truly global voice and data coverage. We are very honored to have her with us today. Lee Newman. What can I say about Lee Newman? Lee Newman is the body and soul of the College of Human Science and Technology. He is an expert in positive psychology. I mean, this is a guy that is never depressed. He's an expert in emotional intelligence. You know, what can I say? You know, he is the soul of that school. And I don't know what we would do without him. So now it's my pleasure to introduce both of these, one good friend of mine and another a colleague from industry. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Susie and Lee. Lee, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paris. Always a great pleasure to see you. And of course, a hearty thank you to Susie for giving us this opportunity to be with her today. And of course, thanks to all of you in the audience for tuning in for this part of the South Summit. So let's dive in. Susie, help us understand from your perspective, what are the big current trends in digital connectivity and global communications? Can you give us an idea of what you see happening?
Yeah, I think we're in a period right now where everybody is moving to devices, right? Everyone has personal communications. They want to have access to information instantly, have their data feeds. So there's certainly a big move to having access to information and data, especially when you go to coffee shops, whether you're on your train, you're driving your car connectivity. And I think Internet of Things is a big future. And how do you keep that connectivity for everybody instantly all the time, especially at Iridium. And with COVID today, we're really seeing a big change of people moving to the outdoors more, being off grid. Of course, with Iridium, you're never off grid. You're always in constant communications, which is really, good for us and fortunate that we can provide that opportunity now with COVID and needing to move outside.
And so those are some of the trends that you see. Let's maybe move to challenges. I mean, I think that tough challenges in industry, identifying those, the challenges that an industry faces offers clues sometimes to where entrepreneurs might look to actually enter and where investors might find interesting opportunities. So what are some of the top challenges you see either Iridium and or the industry facing? I mean, what, said differently, what's keeping execs up at night in this industry?
Fortunately for Iridium, we're in a really good place. Both with our niche market, which is very specific to certain kind of applications. Also with COVID, we've kind of been prepared and planned, and we're very fortunate in that regard. I think it depends on which part of the industry, especially in communications. To me, I think there's three big segments. First is the infrastructure side, providing that communication, which Iridium is part of, putting the pipes together so people can have access to those data. The other one's around the applications or the product layers, and there's a lot of players in that space. And the third, which a lot of people don't talk about, is all of the pieces that go around a product or a solution. And so depending on which one you're in, I think it can change depending on what angle you're looking at. So, I think right now there's a lot facing on how to keep connectivity, especially in today's world of COVID. Businesses, I think, are evaluating and changing how they're going to operate going forward. And I think there's a lot of potential opportunity there and challenges around how do companies stay connected, how do they keep their employees engaged, school going on. So right now, especially, I think it's very relevant in the communication industry on how all three of those pieces align to in how companies, all kinds of companies, evolve and look at what the future looks like for the new normal we're all kind of facing today.
Yeah, I think, so you mentioned some trends like, IoT and outdoor, move to outdoors, for example, and then you mentioned some of the current things going on, challenges, these 3 different areas. So that's sort of the present in some sense, maybe with an eye towards the future. Let's jump directly into the future if we can. I mean, as you said, sort of data is this critical part of our lives as citizens and managers. We need data to survive, to thrive. Where does this go? I mean, thinking forward, thinking really big out into the future, what are some of your ideas, or what's your vision for what that future might look like from the perspective of data, connectivity, and communication?
I think it's going to continue to grow. I think it's, the way I grew up is so different than watching my teenagers, right? They're really growing up with this world of constant communication. Even how they're using their devices is different in that, my generation's more phones, and even we moved into text, right? I see them and they are constantly doing video calls. And of course, we're all now doing video calls and video chat as we're doing today. But I really see in the future, we're gonna continue to grow this access and this need for data. So the infrastructure layers like Iridium have to be there with the capacity. So it's really important that we have the capacity to support those new niche markets, and the big broadband systems also have to be there to grow. That's kind of more the infrastructure. I think in terms of the big ones, I'm not sure what the next big hot thing is going to be. I mean, who would have predicted TikTok would have taken off like it has? If you look at Iridium's history, we started being a phone provider, right? That was really the purpose in the 90s of building out the original Iridium constellation in satellite communications. Who would have thought that in the 90s, we would have predicted that here in 2020, we are a big Internet of Things company, right? We connect data from transportation of cargo ships to Garmin devices, inReach, people going on backpacking trips, right, to delivering vaccines in the middle of Africa. So you would never have predicted that would have come out of a businessman's global telecommunications system. So I can't really predict what that next big thing will be, but it's coming. And I think the important thing is that we continue to have the connectivity to provide those entrepreneurs and those ideas to thrive and bring that next layer of whatever the next big hot application or product is.
Okay, thank you. A lot of our audience, obviously today, are startups or investors, and I think they're quite interested in sort of your thoughts on, where the disruption might happen. I mean, you mentioned, the future is hard to predict. Of course, we'd all love to know exactly what's going to happen, but if you had to place some bets now on some areas where this small company can play in this larger connected world, Industry 4.0, et cetera. I mean, any particularly good ones where you would place your bets?
I would probably, infrastructure side is very capital intensive. So those are very challenging. There's a couple of big companies trying to enter some of those markets, but there's been a lot of historical failures over the years. So that's not, I think that's an important part, but for a small startup, it's a very challenging environment to get into. From the application and product side, I think there is opportunity there. There's a lot happening today to think about, especially with this new normal we're going to be facing. What are those applications and services that might be needed? But the one advice I'd probably say is a lot of people are thinking about, how do I do Zoom calls to homes and how do I make that more efficient? Because that's very present and everyone knows about those kind of ideas. I would recommend people think about what goes around those ideas. For example, if you had your TikToks, your Instagrams, obviously those are huge and they blew up, but the parts that people don't think about is the light rings that go. Now people need to have light rings to be able to do good video calls or power supplies. I would think more around not just the present, what everyone's thinking about, but what goes around that you could then jump into to support that infrastructure around the communications. Hopefully that makes sense. But I think there's more markets that people think that you have to kind of be a little creative. And I also would recommend that if you have ideas and applications, if they're not quite working, go outside your original business case and thoughts, and are there other areas that might benefit that you didn't think about originally? We were talking about VR with my colleagues a little while ago, and virtual reality. It really didn't blow up like people thought. People thought we'd all be wearing them and communicating that way. But they are using it a lot, like in the medical fields, in some training instances, where I think whoever invented the original VRs wasn't thinking surgeries, right? But this is a way to take a technology and think about it in a different way.
So I think maybe if I could summarize that, I mean, so you have the infrastructure, which is of course what Iridium and other players in the industry are doing. And then you have all these services in some sense that are in products as well that are enabled by that infrastructure. And I think your advice in some ways is think hard about the kind of what goes around those services, what kind of other products, what are the users' needs going to be who use those services, or the providers of those services, and maybe put some chips on those spots.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think we have time for one more question, and I wanted to kind of just quickly move away from business and at least put a little toe in the water of social impact. I think digital divide is a term that we all hear. It's been on our radar as a major global issue. So, those who aren't connected in different parts of the world are even more left out now, especially in the world of COVID, when schooling is online, medicine is moving online. If we're not online, we're in trouble. So just to close, I mean, what are your thoughts on how your company or industry in general might help shrink this growing digital divide?
Yeah, and that's a great question. It's clearly at the top of a lot of people's minds today. It's even in the urban areas, you're really seeing a difference in the level of access to technology or internet. For Iridium, we immediately saw some of the needs, and we do a lot with like the crews that are on big ships that are traversing. And it's really important that they continue to deliver, needed supplies and equipment across the globe to different areas, especially during a pandemic. So we did, free crew calling to allow those critical essential workers to continue constant communications back to their families during this period. And I think it's important to ensure that we're there to support that. We're very kind of niche, so we don't have quite like the urban helping the schools get access to information. But with this pandemic, we're also really ensured that we can get vaccines to locations. And so for us, the communications is the key in keeping people connected. I think as a whole, the industry really does need to look at how do we help supply more of the demand at rates and making that reasonable for the schools and the different individuals of different income levels to have access, because it's really important. And when I was with OneWeb, that was one of the big initiatives we had, was if you could give access in the education systems to information, you could bring up the levels of knowledge. And telemedicine is going to be very important in the next coming years. So I hope as an industry, we step up and we help to provide more of those opportunities as a whole.
Great. So so from Iridium's perspective, it's really about supply, logistics, and enabling many of these kind of naturally global services that are critical to dealing with crises and other things that affect.
Absolutely. I mean, that's our mission, right? Is to make sure we provide that connectivity. We have 400 plus value added partners that develop, like the entrepreneurs out there, they're developing the real solution sets and those ideas of how to solve some of these really interesting and hard problems. And we want to make sure we're there to help create that environment and create that connectivity, especially when you're out of reach and not in normal terrestrial, hotspots, Wi-Fi's or cellular, that you have the opportunity to have that same service or connectivity for these solutions.
Well, great. Well, thank you very much. And we're out of time, but I'd like to thank you, Susie, of course, for taking this time to be with us. Everyone in the audience as well for tuning in here at South Summit. And of course, Susie, we want to wish you the best as Iridium goes forward into the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Lee. Okay, moving right along now. Our next block. Now, we've heard a lot about what's the next big hot thing. Lee was asking Susie there. Well, we've also heard a lot today about what the next big hot thing could be. And a lot of it goes around cybersecurity, which is going to be the next battlefield for companies and governments. So let's begin with our startup competition around cybersecurity. This next startup is called Alias Robotics. The pitcher is Victor Mayoral, co-founder. Elias Robotics is a cybersecurity firm focused on robots that creates RIS, an immune system for robots. Imagine that. From the country of Spain, join me in welcoming Elias Robotics.
Hi everyone, this is Victor, founder of Alias Robotics, a robot cybersecurity startup that takes a roboticist approach to cybersecurity. That is, we do security for robots based on 10 plus years of experience building robots. Our journey has been actually quite long so far. We started in the best, some of the best actually, research centers and universities around the world, going through California, Mountain View, working in Open Robotics, who is behind ROS, the robot operating system, and then created our first robotics startup in 2014. We sold this first startup in 2 years. It got acquired by a Swiss multinational, and afterwards started in a series of new projects, ending in 2018 with Alias Robotics doing cybersecurity for robots. The problem we're solving here is that robots are not secure. They aren't in industry. Neither automotive robots are secure, nor healthcare robots. We've in the last 2 years putting together actually a series of case studies. Working with different vendors, you'll see here some of the top vendors of industry, KUKA, ABB, and several others, but also putting together some media. And by the way, all of this has been cooked by our team that shows how robots are unsafe when insecurities essentially affect them. Alias Robotics is the world-leading firm in robot cybersecurity. And beyond our services, we are behind the first immune system for robots, the robot immune system. RIS, or the robot immune system, is a software solution that has a layered architecture that protects robots from the inside, adapting to their behavior. RIS, again, gets installed inside of each one of the supported robots. We have more than 10 at the time, and protects it by learning of its interactions with its environment via its sensors, its networks, and many other things. Once again, we support 10 robots and growing. These are some of the projects and some of our customers, some of the groups that have decided to trust on us. And one thing we must note is that we see an increasing competition, especially over the last year approximately. However, Alias Robotics still is a highlight because we are focused in robotics, whereas others aren't. We have key know-how and a key network in robotics thanks to our past experiences, having working on these problems for already 2 years. And finally, while others are launching products or trying to launch products into the market, we already have ours there and are working towards certification already. We have 2 offices, one in Spain and one in Boston, Massachusetts, US. And we're extremely happy to be here one more year again, this time accepting offers and interest on our Series A. Thanks to our last year's participations, we're happy to share we've closed successfully our seed series. And now we're looking forward to hear about opportunities for our upcoming Series A. That's all. I'll be more than happy to take questions. Stay safe and stay secure. Thank you.
Can you imagine that? I mean, I think robots are, I don't know, sometimes scary enough, but imagine somebody hijacking your robot. Yeah, now that's a big question, that problem that needs to be solved. Okay, guys, jury members, online and in physical, questions. All right, Raul. Got you there, guy.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. I think that we met before sometimes. I have a question related to the operating system itself, and because most of the robots are using robot operating system, which is not using this kind of secure coding inside. So my question is, are you replacing the software of the robot by your software?
Hi, Raul. Great to hear from you. Shortly answering, no, we're not replacing. We're complementing it. We're building on top. We currently have support for a variety of robots. Some of them are built on top of Windows, Linux, embedded systems, embedded RTOSes, such as NATEX, such as VxWorks, such as QNX. We support them all.
All right, thank you. All right, so, yeah, very important company there, Alias Robotics. If they're gonna control your robot or help you control your robot. More questions. We got time for one more from the physical world or the virtual world here? Nacho Mateo from the physical world.
Thank you, Paris. Thank you, Victor, for the presentation. My question is regarding your development stage. At what stage are you guys right now, and what are your next steps in terms of growth?
Hi, Nacho. Great to meet you, and great question, by the way. So the product is developed, product is being served with real customers. We're growing rapidly and essentially licensing it out. That's how we make money, actually. So it's basically done. We're constantly improving, though. We're in the process of certification. We are going towards IEC 62443, which is the, as you may know, the certification for essentially ICS environments and OT environments. And we're slowly moving towards exploring ISO 21434, which is the automotive vehicle specification, and that will come essentially into our roadmap next year.
All right, thank you guys. Okay, we're here for our last startup in the cybersecurity segment. The company is called Gataca. The picture is Irene Hernandez, CEO. Gataca is a cybersecurity company that provides decentralized digital identity technology. From the country of Spain, join me in welcoming Gataca.
Hello, my name is Irene, and I'm the founder and CEO at Gataca, an MIT-born cybersecurity company that builds decentralized digital identity technology. Imagine you wake up in the morning, you grab your phone, open your email app, and you cannot log in. You type your password 3 times. The last one, you swear to yourself you typed it right, and still not working. A thought crosses your mind. And really scared, you open the app of your bank and bam, that's it. You have 10 charges from Amazon orders you never executed. I'm sorry, you've been hacked. And don't think that this will never happen to you. According to Braid's Level Index, this may happen to someone every 40 seconds. Centralized authentication architectures are not only creating frictions for end users in terms of privacy, user experience, and security. Businesses are concentrating so much sensitive information that they're becoming honeypots for hackers, and they're spending millions of dollars in KYC and GDPR compliance. This is why we've built state-of-the-art technology to create a new way of managing your personal information, a single digital identity for all your services worldwide. We empower end users with an ID wallet in their phone and with verified identity credentials so that they can enjoy passwordless, instant, and government-grade secured access to digital services. Our decentralized platform also includes credentialing tools for issuing authorities and single sign-on authentication tools for businesses on a monthly subscription plan. This architecture is well known as self-sovereign identity, and it is so powerful that governments worldwide are already implementing this concept. The market is expected to grow to $2 billion in under 4 years in an industry that has no clear leader yet. And we are the first one to offer interoperability among any blockchain infrastructure and that are truly aligned with the European guidelines. This is why our team of blockchain developers, cybersecurity engineers, entrepreneurs, and senior business managers are, listen carefully, directly advising the European Commission to build a pan-European self-sovereign identity framework. We also signed a very strategic agreement with the Spanish National Postal Service, and we have 2 more deployments about to start. We are looking for governments, universities, and banks willing to be an innovation reference in Europe. If you're a true leader in any such organizations, please reach out. Thank you.
All right. Well, we've been hearing a lot about this today. Identity theft, cybersecurity, all these things. So, what do we got here from our physical and our virtual juries? Okay, Alberto.
Thank you, Paris. Thank you very much, Irene. In fact, the MasterCard right now is investing in digital identity solution because, as you are saying, it's absolutely the future. But I have some question for your solution that is important to know. How do you verify the real identity of the customer, and in which way you authenticate the customer in your mobile app?
Okay, there's 2 parts to that question, but an excellent question anyway. Thank you very much. Verifying the identity has 2 components. On the first hand, to verify that the holder of the digital wallet is the real person behind the credentials. And the second part is verifying that those credentials are real and authentic. So for the first part, we use biometric technologies, and for the second part, we don't pretend to substitute current issuing authorities, so we leverage current stakeholders and trusted authorities to cryptographically sign those verifiable credentials.
Thank you very much, and I love the name of your company because it's a very good film, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have time for one more question. By the way, Alberto, how many clients does MasterCard have? More than Telefonica?
Worldwide, yeah. Absolutely.
Billion, right?
Billions, yeah, billions.
We got a conversation coming, but not just the normal conversation. This is a conversation that's going to be happening with two people in Silicon Valley. The first one is Julio Casal, founder and CTO of 4IQ Alien Vault. And the other one is Alberto Lopez, co-founder and managing director at ForgePoint Capital. Welcome, guys. How is Silicon Valley right now? I mean, I can see that there are no fires burning in your houses, right?
Yeah, today it's clean. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting us. And we have a clean, healthy air today. So it's a good day.
Good. Okay. The floor is yours to take us on this conversation journey.
Okay, I'll start myself asking Alberto. Alberto, so you run ForgePoint, the largest venture capital fund in cybersecurity. And so we at 4IQ are seeing increased interest in customers. And are you seeing the same from the investment side in the current crisis? Are there more or less deals?
You know, it's been very interesting, Julio, to see the number of deals that have come our way. We thought it was going to slow down February right after the RSA conference, but on the contrary, the number of opportunities that seem to invest has, I would say, increased, despite the fact that we're doing business electronically and digitally. We have deployed about $100 million in new investments in 2020 in about 6 companies. And we had done follow-ons for about 5 of our existing companies that did follow-on series investments, another 50 million. So we've been very active. August has been one of the busiest months for us. We closed on 2 transactions. So I would say, very active community for entrepreneurship, and best companies get built during crisis.
Okay, and how are you finding doing those deals in the current environment? Is the due diligence process changed? Are you able to meet entrepreneurs in person? How is all this changed?
It's interesting because I think cybersecurity is a small community, right? We've been seeing some of the entrepreneurs speaking before us, and also Telefonica talking about their managed service capabilities. We're a small community. The entrepreneurs are known. You're a good case. You know, we met when you started Alien Vault, and we worked together in Alien Vault. And when you came up with the idea of 4IQ, we were really excited to support you again and try to take 4IQ to the next level as investors. So I would say that given the fact that we're specialists in the sector, we pretty much know many of the entrepreneurs and the people that are actually going back to creating new startups. And most of the investments that we made, actually all of the investments that we made, the 6 investments that we've done to date in 2020 are with people we have known for a number of years. So that establishes the base foundation. You need to be known. You need to be either being in the customer side, in the entrepreneur side, or coming up from a corporation trying to start a new company. So due diligence, it's actually something that we feel very comfortable doing, because there's many things that we do, which is validating customer references that can be done digitally, talking to doing technology assessments. A lot of them can be enabled by the cloud. And a lot of the background checks, a lot of the source code scans that we do, security assessments and certifications. So I would say most of our process is now digital. The thing that is missing, so let me just not paint things from rose-colored glasses, is the people interaction. We would love to meet the team. We would love to be in your office. We would like to see how the team is working, the dynamics that goes on. And that part is the part that we miss. But given that we've known the teams before and we were interacting with them and actually talking to them before the investment, we feel comfortable that, again, we have not done a single deal where we didn't know the entrepreneur. I guess that's a long answer to your questions. Due diligence can be enabled if you already have a pre-established relationship in a very, very close community, which is the cybersecurity community around the world.
So I really want to appreciate your time here with us today, and thank you very much for joining us here at the South Summit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, moving right along. This is our final closing conversation, and it's really unique. It's probably the best example of a blended conversation, because we're going to have someone here physically, someone here in the country, I believe, and someone here very far away, virtually as well. So this conversation is going to be about cybersecurity, and we're going to talk in particular about cyber criminals and some of the deeper things regarding cybersecurity. So I want to first introduce one of our jury members, Alberto Lopez. Alberto Lopez is Director of Cybersecurity and Intelligence Solutions at MasterCard. Welcome, Alberto. And now I want to introduce the two ladies, the lady and the gentleman that is joining us virtually. We're going to start with the lady, Soledad Antelada, is Cybersecurity Engineer at NERSC Berkeley Lab and Network Security Chair at SC20. Thank you for joining us, Soledad. And we also,
Hola a todo el mundo, gracias.
Thank you. And we also have Santiago de Pedro, Director of International IT Risk and Security Coordinator at Banco Sabadell. Thank you for joining us, Santiago.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
Okay, so we're going to start with ladies. Ladies are always first. So, Soledad, you know, we've heard a lot about cybersecurity today, but how do you stay ahead of the cyber criminals?
Well, that's a very good question. And also, I think there's not a simple answer to that. Actually, you can do many things. I think one key point is to act like them. So think like a cyber criminal. It's very beneficial for an organization or a company. And you can develop activities such as penetration testing, for example, which actually you are trying to compromise your own organization. I think another point to stay ahead is being on top always of research and innovation in cybersecurity, as well as always cover your basics and keep things that work for your environment, but you know, add new things all the time and innovate, and also invest in creativity. So you don't become a static environment, which is easier to attack, basically. And I cannot put enough emphasis on this always. I think training of people, promoting cybersecurity culture to everybody across companies, from staff to managers to peers, that's what really pays off.
Okay, thank you, Soledad. This one's for you, Alberto. Yeah. What's the relevance of biometrics today? Is it becoming big? Do you think that's the future?
Absolutely. It's the present and the future of authentication of the customers, and even more right now with the PSD2 entering into force 1st of January for all the e-commerce transactions that we will do it into Europe. And in this regulation, they put a lot of emphasis in the biometric environment. In fact, the new revolution on authentication is authenticate yourself with two different factors. One of them could be something that you have, for example, your mobile phone. Your mobile phone is unique, only you has the mobile phone. The second factor could be something that you know, that is the normal password or PIN number that everyone uses, but sometimes the people forget this password. And the last one is ignorance, something that you are. And this is for me the big new change. because the biometric identify yourself without the need to know nothing, because it's just your fingerprint, your face recognition. And the people are using it every day more and more thanks to the mobile phones. And for example, if you use Apple Pay, Google Pay, or Samsung Pay, you only need your fingerprint. You don't need to remember your PIN number. So for me, biometric is really the future of the authentication.
Thank you, Alberto. Quick question here, Santiago, for you. Is the world more cyber vulnerable now after COVID-19?
Indeed, many companies had to rush and massively extend remote working methods, and also obviously pivot their businesses quickly to ensure they could support their entire service offering through digital channels. And unfortunately, some of these companies had insufficient time and expertise to review the cybersecurity implications of the changes that they were carrying out. The aim of that is that they increased the attack surface of their operations, they made themselves more vulnerable, and in short, they obviously are more at risk now of suffering a cyber attack. Other, I would say, more fortunate companies, however, were capable of leveraging their expertise, their resources to understand how essential cybersecurity actually is and had become during this pandemic. And they realized that to increase their controls, adjust and compensate for this new normality we're living in. And these companies took into account that their online services were crucial for their survival and that they had to protect them with utmost care. In our case, with Banco Sabadell, we quickly increased our cyber defenses. We intensified our 24/7 surveillance over our services and our systems with a combination of technical and operational controls.
Thank you.
We knew customers would need to rely on the bank during these troubling times, and that we had to rise up to the challenge. We, as I was saying, we increased the resources of our security operations center. We enhanced our reviews. We implemented reinforced controls where necessary, and obviously those controls will remain in place as long as the pandemic continues to be here, and the risk of it obviously exists.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I want to thank every one of you. Thank you, Soledad, for joining us, Santiago and Alberto. Thank you. Okay. So, yes, this was the second day of South Summit, and unfortunately, it has come to an end. I want to remind everybody about prime time this afternoon. We'll hear from Maine Spenger from MassMobile, Robin Richards, Blake Winchell, the visionary architect Stefano Boeri, Martha Thorne, and Sam Waterston, the famous actor of Law & Order, who's coming to talk about his project, Oceana. Remember that we have a couple of tracks in parallel that you can watch: mobility and smart infrastructure, and energy and sustainability. The winner of all the startups that you've been watching today of data and connectivity will be announced this afternoon. Tomorrow's tracks, very exciting. We have fintech, we have consumer trends, travel and tourism. Don't forget to watch travel and tourism. It will come back. The grand final is happening tomorrow as well, and the winner will be announced there too. So with that, I want to thank everybody in the virtual world, in the physical world, all over the world, for joining in this most connected South Summit that we've ever had. Thank you, and see you tomorrow.